we interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, we're doing this Odd Ones Out. Every form of animation. Everyone ever, James, really, even the Florpty-Dorp animation style?
What?
There's no way he's got the Florpty-Dorp. That was a trick. I was just trying to get James sweating. That's not a real animation style. I just made that up. But we are gonna watch this video and I am going to learn. I don't know why I'm holding up a pen because I'm gonna do this in Photoshop on my computer. We are gonna learn how to not animate, but draw. We are going to draw during this video. I got everything laid out. Like, look, there's me saying hi. And it's the worst drawing you've ever seen in your life. So by the end of this video, we are going to have a cool drawing that's better than this. Hey, I'm Billy from New Orleans. Okay, let's go.
This brick is alive.
Wow.
Not convinced? Well, what if I did this?
I'm gonna do a backflip!
It's alive!
You're so cool, Brickathy!
What are you boys doing?
Brickathy, don't do it.
Backflip, Grandma!
Not Grandma. Not Grandma! How could you do this? But the bricks still aren't alive. They aren't alive still.
Are you convinced now? Did the brick feel more alive? I mean, sure, it's still a brick that can't move on its own, but maybe because I put googly eyes on it and gave it a family, you can connect with this brick, and it made you feel emotions. Convincing you that something inanimate is animate is the main goal of
animation.
They're nothing more than deranged frauds. For the last century, animators have innovated new techniques and styles to this medium, taking it from a spinning wheel that doesn't even use electricity to Spider-Verse.
That's pretty aesthetic, to be honest.
And today, I'm going to talk about all the processes and innovations that have brought the medium of animation to right now. But first, let's go all the way back to the beginning.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I love stuff like this. I love the history of animation. I love the history of film, movies, video games, etc. Oh my goodness, I'm excited. Let's go.
But first, let's go all the way back to the beginning of film, when it was all black and white and people had to put up text whenever they talked.
Oh yeah, brutal.
Filmmakers discovered a very simple trick to make anything appear alive in front of a camera. And that simple trick was called
stop motion.
You're filming something and then stop the camera and then move the thing slightly, capture a new image, move the thing again, and continue to do that a tedious amount of times. On the film, that thing now magically looked like it moved on its own. And with this technique, you can make literally anything appear to be moving.
That would be so stressful.
But some filmmakers
what if you
took
mess
this
up
art
one of
form
them?
to an extreme level and created whole characters out of clay and a posable metal wire system.
Is that what Godzilla was?
Armature. Now animators can sculpt unique characters that bend and pose in much more believable ways. With stop motion, you don't need to hire a real dinosaur or giant monkey to make a movie about a dinosaur or giant monkey.
True.
I'm sorry you didn't get the job, Phil.
Oh, poor Phil.
It's a nice tie, at least.
You know, I just had a crazy idea. What if we made our entire puppet's head interchangeable? Now they can make any facial expression and mouth shape possible. We will have to sculpt out hundreds of different heads though, but I mean, come on, that'll be fun. That's why we're extreme, baby. Stop.
That is insane. Stop motion is insane. Oh, Isle of Dogs. I literally just discovered this movie because of Cameron putting an Isle of Dogs clip for one of our intros recently.
Okay, it's worth it.
I had not heard of this, but it's got Japanese, which is epic. If this was a bit larger, I'd be able to read it. Sukaretu, sukaretu. But that is Scarlet in Japanese. So. Okay, moving on. Oh yeah, stop motion's really hard. I tried to do it as a child. I was gonna say I had too much autism for it, but I feel like there's probably some incredible autistic stop motion people. Maybe excellent. Maybe some of the best in the world are autistic, for all I know.
Stop motion movies are still being made and enjoyed to this day. And while new technology does help make the overall process easier, animators are still using the same techniques that were used on King Kong back in the 1920s, where they carefully pose out a character's every movement frame by frame.
That's so cool, but sounds horrible to do.
Stop motion is a medium that I can't even begin to understand how they do, let alone make it look good, you know? Having a stop motion character in in gravity-defying poses, making hundreds of different faces, is
Insane.
done solely to make the character feel more alive. And sometimes, to help sell the realism, animators will mimic quirks that only happen in live-action films. I always chuckle when I see a lens flare in an animated movie.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, where did you come from? There's not even a camera lens.
Yeah.
Unlike me, though, who's always got a camera
is crazy.
rolling. Hey, how's it going? Uh-oh. Oh, no! Did you catch that? Did you see the
Motion blur.
lizard eating
Let's
a bug?
go.
Oh, we got him. Now let's rewind the clip and pause right here. This lizard moves
Of
so
course.
fast that the camera can't even capture its movements correctly, and he transmogrifies into an amorphic blob that—
But in stop motion, that wouldn't happen because you're taking photos of a still image, so they add motion blur to make it look more like a normal film, even though what they're doing is actually more impressive than that. They're adding in the motion blur instead. I understand, James. Gosh, I think we've already talked about this in the past. Me and James are the same person. Have you ever seen us in the same room together? Okay, maybe once, but aside from, maybe we did movie magic for that, you know? We might be the same person, that's all I'm saying.
magnifies into an amorphic blob that barely even resembles a lizard. But do not fret, dear viewer. This is called motion blur, and it's absolutely natural. Fast-moving objects are hard to see in real life anyway, so this blurry blob only showing up for one frame actually helps sell the idea that this little guy is moving quickly. If you watch any movie frame by frame, you'll find motion blur everywhere.
Oh yeah.
You won't even notice.
That's how long it takes to capture the
animators
frame.
who are taking hundreds of still photos handle this naturally occurring phenomenon with things in motion? Easy. They'll draw smear
Smear frames. Okay, what is that? Oh, you know, oh my gosh, I think I just realized what's going on. So every time he says the name of the section, it mutes.
Did you see the
And now I'm realizing
they'll draw smear.
It's Star Wars themed. I think that's the Star Wars theme playing, and I think for copyright reasons he had to cut it out. So he had to mute every section where he says the title. Oh, I bet that was brutal for James. The copyright people are insane these days. Like, if you're a big enough channel, they will get you for something that small. It's super lame, and I'm sure James was really frustrated by that. But yeah, I think that's what happened there.
Easy. They'll draw smear.
Smear frames.
Animators draw their own blurry blob frame to mimic fast movements. Bodies can stretch, arms can multiply.
Gosh, yes!
Basically, we can sneak in nightmares as long as it's only shown for one frame. Smears, while being very fun to draw, can look very weird and goofy on their own. But in the context of the whole shot, you barely even notice they're there.
I love it.
Okay, maybe now you'll notice them, but that's only because I pointed them out. And since animators are bad boys and don't play by the rules, they can make smears out of anything. Even in stop motion, we can sculpt a physical smear frame like how they did in Leica's Paranorman, which if you haven't seen, is going to be your new favorite movie. Smear frames can be used anytime, anywhere. Unless you were an animator in the 1920s and 30s.
They didn't let you.
Didn't know about them back then. In that case,
they hadn't invented them yet.
Something called
rubber hose.
In the 1920s and 30s, animators were still figuring out some core principles of animation.
Oh man.
Turns out there's 12 of them. Smear frames were used sparingly during this time, with animators usually only drawing characters with multiple limbs to show fast movements.
Wow.
The stretchy, wacky, and spiritually ascending smears—
You know what's funny? You know what that reminds me of? That last bit, the multiple limbs. It's like when Sonic is running in the old games, they would create smear frames for Sonic to give the illusion, well, not the illusion, but to show that he's running really fast. And then they did it really stupidly in Sonic CD. I don't really know why they did this. It looks kind of weird. But yeah, in the old Sonic games, they'd make his feet just a circle. But yeah, same thing exactly. When you don't have any sort of smear frames or motion blur, that actually comes across as a bit of an unnatural effect. There are certain movies, particularly action movies, if you watch a crazy action movie, and remember when we watched Crank, I pointed this out to you. I may have pointed this out to you. They used an incredibly fast shutter speed on the shots, so there's no motion blur. It just looks like, you know what I mean? It looks really choppy. They do that for action movies to make it look more intense and action-y. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it, but they do it for that.
Smear frames were used sparingly during this time, with animators usually only drawing characters with multiple limbs to show fast movements. The stretchy, wacky, and spiritually ascending smears that you all know and love weren't really used until the 1940s. Rubber hose characters have noodly, almost hose-like limbs that bend in all sorts of anatomically
So
defined
cool.
ways. Look at Mickey Mouse's noodle arms that I can now legally show you. The reason characters look like this is because drawing noodle arms and not worrying about anatomy is easier to draw.
Is it? Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, it
Just 'cause
is.
something has noodle arms doesn't mean it's bad, you guys. What these animators were able to accomplish with the technology, if you could even call it that, is nothing short of dark magic. And the very same studio that made Steamboat Willie wanted to push the envelope and show the world that animation could be more. It doesn't just have to be noodly characters with Pac-Man eyes.
What do they do?
They were going to animate a realistic woman with proportional arms that don't move in weird, exaggerated ways. And oh God, her noodle arms are moving in weird, exaggerated ways. In 1934, Disney released a short called The Goddess of Spring.
Oh, that is
being
freaky.
their first attempt at animating a character
Babe, look at this. This
with
is
what was
freaky.
supposed to have real human anatomy. They still had a lot to learn, obviously. Now,
Isn't that
animating
disturbing?
a quote-unquote anatomically correct human is actually a much harder task than you might realize. And that's because of the Uncanny Valley.
Stop it.
Get more and more human characteristics, we hit an interesting point right here when something looks almost like a human, but is just a little off. Our pattern recognition brain starts setting off alarm bells and go,
That's not right.
Something is definitely wrong with
That's
that
not
almost
right.
human. I am entering fight or flight right now. So if you're trying to make something look as close to a human as possible, but are just a
You're gonna
tiny
go through a
bit
bad
off,
phase of doing that.
everything crumbles. The Goddess of Spring was still good practice.
Wait, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking in my brain, and I didn't say it out loud. This looked like Uncanny Valley to me. Like, it looked unnatural in a very weird way. I was like literally about to say that. I was literally about to say that. This is really fun. Okay, so far, no noodle arms. We'll draw a little Morky Mus. I'm gonna draw Mickey Mouse from memory, and it's gonna be the most wretched thing we've ever seen. This is not Mickey Mouse at all. I don't remember what Mickey Mouse looks like, you guys. What?
You better get it right, mister.
Or what, Mickey, or what?
Or else, you don't want me to bring out the shovel again, do you?
The what?
You don't want me to bring out the shovel, do you, Robert?
Not the shovel, please! Not again, please!
The Goddess of Spring was still good practice for Disney because only 3 years later, they released
made
the
something
world's
good.
first fully animated feature film, Snow White.
Wow,
Can you really
that's
blame Disney
crazy.
for going 6 times over budget to make this
We need to
movie?
watch that.
I mean, just look at how these human characters are moving. 10 years before Snow White, animated
think I was like
humans
3
looked
the
like
last time I
this.
saw it. We need
so
to watch
going
it.
from this to this?
That's crazy.
In only 10 years?
That's crazy.
How? I can't get over how real these human characters look sometimes.
Well, okay.
Almost
Are you joking? Uncanny?
too real. Well, I think you're old enough to learn about the dangers of
Rotoscoping.
rotoscoping. Is the process of taking real-life footage and then manually tracing over every frame, resulting in an animation
no
with
way.
unreal levels of realism. And I say unreal
Is that what they did?
derogatorily. You're basically slapping a cartoon filter over live action
didn't
footage,
know-
but instead of simply slapping, you're spending multiple hours doing mindless and
I
tedious
didn't know what
drawing.
rotoscoping was.
is not the same as filming a human actor and then later referencing that footage,
Right,
like
right.
what Disney did for Sleeping Beauty or Alice in Wonderland
Wow.
or any movie ever because animators use references all the
Wow.
time. People had figured out how to rotoscope other people long before Snow White.
No.
So of course Disney, who was trying to convey real human movement, rotoscoped some shots. The problem with rotoscoping is that we start to sneak our way back to the
In
bottom of the
Uncanny
Uncanny
Valley.
Valley. Animated characters often do and should break the laws of physics.
Yeah.
They can squash and stretch into weird proportions and
Yeah.
be drawn in unique and interesting poses.
And that's like the best thing about animation is you can do things that are impossible. Obviously, way back then, they wanted to make a movie that was the most impressive, like human, close to human, whatever thing as possible at the time because that was brand new and they were doing what was previously thought impossible. But yes, now that animation, we're so much launch in the future from that, and we can do whatever. I believe that you have the medium of animation, you have the format of cartoons and drawing and whatever. You can do whatever you want. And I think that you need to take advantage of that. Obviously, people can draw or animate things however they want. If they just want to do realistic, that's fine. But I personally think it's amazing that we get to do crazy things like this, and the way they have smear frames. We have that ability, and so it's cool to do that. And I think trying to be too real if you're doing a cartoon, I think is probably a step in the wrong direction. So I understand why the Sleeping Beauty thing had some kind of weird elements to it at the time.
And look, Snow White is still a masterpiece of a movie.
Yep.
The rotoscoping is fine, you barely notice it. It's good, it's a good movie, and it made Disney a lot of money. Also, how did Walt animate these shots of things reflecting in the water in 1937?
Yeah, how?
What, did they put special glass over paintings to make it look distorted?
Yes, that's
or
what they did.
something?
Yes, that's what
Who
they
would be crazy enough to
Yeah,
do
they did
that?
that right.
If you made a whole movie entirely rotoscoped, what you end up with is Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings. Notice anything off about these characters' movements? Look at how Gandalf moved just a year ago in The Hobbit. Now, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit.
Oh my God, I've
Lord of the
never
Rings.
heard of these.
Almost every shot in this movie was rotoscoped, and the shots that weren't used live action footage with a filter over it.
That's
I'm not
crazy.
saying
I've
that
never even heard of
rotoscoping is
this.
bad. You just have to use it correctly. A character switching from traditionally animated to rotoscoped is incredibly funny, and always will be. The YouTuber Joel Javier makes very entertaining rotoscope skits that feel like a fever dream, and I mean that underogatorily. And a lot of music videos get away with rotoscoping because
the
admittedly,
Heartless music video
rotoscoping is a very cool visual. Now, I wish I could say the first Lord of the Rings movie was a hidden animation gem, but I don't know.
It's a hidden
it's not on my
garbage
top 10,
can.
sorry. It probably made
It's a hidden trash can. I don't know. I've genuinely never heard of that movie. The original Lord of the Rings was animated. That's insane. Did you know that existed?
No.
Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Okay. Why are you answering like a like a chat bot? Yes. No. I haven't seen that.
Why are you making my voice?
No, stop it.
How I talk, Robert.
I'm trying to get away from the computer.
It probably made a lot of nerds in the 70s happy, but thankfully The Lord of the Rings has been adapted into many other forms of media, like video
That
games,
have pretty much all been
Magic
better.
the Gathering cards, and anime. Anime?
Anime?
They're making a Lord of the Rings anime? They're making a Lord of the Rings.
There we go.
Hollywood, California was the only place in the world making moving pictures. Japan's been making their own moving pictures too, and some of them are moving drawings.
Wait, did they
there
do
are
a-
entire college courses on the history of anime, but you're
Yeah.
not paying me tuition, so we're gonna have to skip over a couple things. A lot of
come
early
on.
anime is now lost media because cinemas didn't preserve film back then, and an earthquake destroyed many studios in 1923.
Whoa,
Some
that's
Japanese animators
crazy.
created shorts out of paper cutouts because buying thousands of celluloid sheets was too expensive, and they had some very unique character designs. And
never
some
seen any of
Japanese
this.
animators took inspiration from Disney and made shorts that looked very similar to America's Rubber Hose characters.
Wow.
Then by the 1940s, some major world events happened that
Oh.
got most of the world
I think I
involved,
heard about that.
And both American and Japanese animation studios were affected. But after all that,
Yeah.
in 1948, one studio called Japan Animated Films, later bought out by Toei Animation, set out to be the Disney of the East. And they made cartoons about magical schoolgirls and are still in business to
my
this day and
gosh.
made some other less popular shows.
That's funny. Dude! Oh my goodness. I love this. This is so interesting to me. I've never seen like what old Japanese animation looked like. And it's crazy just to think that like the animation world of Japan specifically managed to carve out and define and create their own style that is like universally understood as their style to this day. If you ever see an anime, you know it's an anime just by looking at it. I think that is so Cool.
One animator who quit working at Toei created his own company and made an anime based off his comic about a
Astro
robot
Boy.
Hey, I kind of like that art style of drawing humans with big...
Asuturo Boy. I can read it. I can read it. Asuturo Bo. Of course I know Bo, because that's my name. Bo.
Hey, I kind of like that art style of drawing humans with big expressive eyes. Let's do more of that.
Yeah,
that same year, another
okay.
studio made an anime about humans controlling giant robots. I wonder if that's going to inspire a whole new genre.
Oh my god,
And
yeah, it
this
did,
guy
a
was
whole
commissioned by
genre.
American studios to make stop-motion Christmas movies like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Meaning Rudolph is anime. Nani? By the 1960s,
Rudolph? The Rudolph Claymation series? Man, if there's one thing that I remember from the Rudolph Claymation series, I sorry guys, I just have to say it.
She's bad. Female reindeer from the Rudolph Claymation series. When I was in preschool, I used to be bricked up watching that, and then that fish from Shark Tale.
She's bad. Wait a minute, that's not my real opinion.
is anime. Nani? By the 1960s, Japanese shows started airing on televisions all across the globe, and they continued to make unique and interesting stories with amazing animations
So cool.
that were beloved by billions of people and grew into extremely profitable franchises. Like, I'm talking the most profitable franchise.
$92 billion!
By the 1970s, Disney was still very much the animated movie gold standard.
Okay, wait, I want to see this list. Oh my gosh, the highest grossing media franchises of all time. Oh my gosh, Pokemon. Hello Kitty is number 2? I don't know a single person who actually has watched Hello Kitty. I don't know a single person who actually watches Hello Kitty, but I have a Hello Kitty sweater. Like, no joke. Would you seriously have thought, you wouldn't have thought of that, right? If you had to list like the top 5 grossing media franchises of all time, you would not think Hello Kitty would be up there,
Like
right?
for TV shows?
Well, like TV shows, movies.
Oh, I would have said Pokemon definitely first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought Hello Kitty.
'Cause-
I remember there being a show, but I've never seen it.
Exactly. It's an incredibly iconic brand and merchandise design thing. But like, yeah, ain't nobody like, yo, you remember that Hello Kitty episode where like you could say anything and I'd be like, no, I don't. I don't remember that. I don't remember a single episode of Hello Kitty and I don't know anyone who does. By the way, homies, this is like literally one of the best videos I've ever watched. So if you're enjoying this, please like the video and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts because I read the comments, you know? And I want to know what you think of this because I think this is one of the best videos ever and I would love to do more, but you guys have to let me know if you like it as much as I do, okay?
By the 1970s, Disney was still very much the animated movie gold standard,
yeah.
making big budgeted movies with family-friendly values. Which is fine to do. Kids love bright colors and talking animals that only cartoons can offer. But some studios realized that animation was a medium, not a genre, and made animated movies exclusively for adults. That's part of the reason why the first Lord of the Rings movie was entirely rotoscoped. It wasn't trying to be cartoony and over the top. It was trying to be real
why not
and
just-
gritty. Animation could be anything for anyone of any age.
All right.
But really,
I agree.
if you think about it, there hadn't been a new way of showing people moving drawings since those very early days of black and white stop
Yeah.
motion. In stop motion, you take a picture, move a figure, take a picture, move a figure. In cell animation, you take a picture, move a cell, take a picture, move a cell. Everything's just been a series of pictures moved manually in front of a camera this whole time?
What?
Always has been.
You've got mail.
Oh boy.
Oh. It says the entire animation and film industry is about to be flipped onto its head forever and ever.
Well, computers?
Yeah, right. I'm sure this whole computer thing is just...
Just a phase.
Ever increasing advancements of technology, we were able to achieve increasingly advanced achievements, like putting a guy on the moon and drawing silly little cartoons more efficiently. Gone are the days of having to physically draw everything out on paper and underpay a team of hundreds of pretty girls to hand paint every frame. Now we can use this fancy new computer to render everything out
the
for
Apple
us.
II.
All we have to do is create a real-life mold of our real-life human hand, then draw 350 triangles onto that hand,
Wait, what?
then manually
Wait,
measure
what?
out the X, Y,
Wait,
and
what?
Z coordinates
What?
of 800
What?
different data points. No, come on, this is gonna be so much faster. Put that pencil down. Now we just program in a couple of keyframes and we get...
Oh no! It took 10,000 years back then.
We still don't have the processing power to render everything out. Oh, I know. We'll just point this long exposure camera at the computer screen. Get these art supplies out of here. This is the future.
No.
And when everything's finished rendering, we'll get this. A whole human hand moving on its own without having to draw a single frame. This process is exactly what Utah University student Ed Catmull did in 1972.
1972!
And while it might not have been more efficient than drawing everything out by hand, it showed that computers were capable of rendering out three-dimensional animations. This was made after we landed a man on the moon.
Oh my.
So don't tell me this was CGI. As the computer's processing power grew exponentially,
Wow, what a brilliant point to make. That is so funny. yeah, I don't think they had CGI on footage before CGI existed. That's just me. I could be crazy. I could be insane. Well, Robert, how do you know the government wasn't doing CGI before CGI so that no one would think it's CGI? Homies, it's probably not that deep. They probably just went to the moon. That's my thought. They probably just went there. That sounds easier to do than what they're saying. Literally, rocket science makes more sense than inventing CGI before CGI.
processing power grew exponentially, more and more filmmakers started seeing the benefits of using computer-generated images.
Oh, it looks
in
perfect.
movies. A decade after Catmull digitized his hand, films like Tron showcased characters racing on mind-boggling computer-generated light cycles. This might look, bad by today's standards.
I haven't seen
but these
the
graphics
original.
were something that audiences had never seen before.
That's insane.
Plus, the movie takes place inside of a computer, so this is probably what people thought the insides of a computer looked like anyways. At the time, computers did a great job at creating rigid geometric shapes, and animators used that to their advantage. Characters would still have to be animated traditionally on cells, but objects that weren't going to change shape, like black cauldrons,
keyframes,
can now
baby.
magically fly in circles around our characters. Disney really showed off the computer's rendering power during the climax of The Great Mouse Detective, when these two
let's
rodents
go.
fought each other inside a clock tower, and all the spinning gears were generated by a computer.
Wow.
Animators can now make any complex shape move in a three-dimensional space without having to draw a single frame. I mean, except for the characters, they still very much had to draw those. Computer graphics were here to stay as Disney integrated more of them into movies, like these cars in Oliver and Company, or Eric's ship in The Little Mermaid, and then they stopped using cells entirely. Starting with The Rescuers Down Under, Disney no longer used cells and made movies entirely digitally with a program called CAPS. So if you ever wanted to own a cell of Joanna the Lizard eating an egg, that's too bad because they don't exist. Which sucks because Joanna was the best lizard Disney ever made. Don't touch me! TV shows and anime still use cells till about the year 2000-ish, but eventually everyone switched to digital.
Okay, Pokemon episode, this is a... Wow, they had over 200 Pokemon episodes by 2002. I mean, I guess I probably saw this episode when it came out, to be honest. Okay, Unk. How's Pokemon in black and white, Unk? Yeah, I get it, guys. I understand.
But eventually, everyone switched to digital. Now, to color a frame, all you had to do was... So computers were great at making rigid, non-flexible shapes, but has anyone ever tried to make... A group of computer scientists who were working for a small indie director...
I bet the original edit went so hard. I bet the original edit was fantastic. I'm sorry. You know how James could have avoided this, actually? If you play the beginning of the Russian national anthem, it sounds exactly like the beginning of Star Wars, but it's not. Listen. See, if you just played that, people would think it's Star Wars, but the Star Wars police wouldn't be able to copyright claim you, you know? Just some tips you pick up from editing videos for 19 years of your life and dealing with copyright claims for 19 years of your life. Just, you pick up a few things, you know?
A group of computer scientists who were working for a small indie director named George Lucas were taking this art form to an extreme level and created whole characters completely generated by a computer.
That's
then
what they made
a
before
small
Star Wars?
entrepreneur named Steve Jobs hired those computer scientists and made his own company, Pixar.
Pixar, yep.
Yes, Steve Jobs was one of the founders of Pixar.
Yep.
And he originally
Did you know that?
created...
Did you know that?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Steve Jobs co-created Pixar.
Really lives up to his name.
Yeah, he's got a lot of jobs. Yeah, no, for sure. He created a lot of jobs, that's for sure. Yeah, I remember, well, not I remember, I wasn't watching this game. When Toy Story 2 came out, they were revealing like an Apple computer or like a Mac or something. And at the keynote, Steve Jobs was like, hey, who's seen Toy Story 2, guys? It's like, it's crazy how over time, when they announced the iPhone, they weren't like, oh, by the way, you could watch Finding Nemo on this. You know?
Yes, Steve Jobs was one of the founders of Pixar, and he originally created the company to sell a high-end computer powerful enough to render 3D animations.
The Pixar
but no one bought
Pro.
the computer because it cost $135,000. So the team scrapped the computer selling idea and just stuck with making computer-generated cartoons.
That
But they
looks
soon discovered
rough.
a unique problem. The computer had a hard time getting textures right, and everything, including babies, ended up looking like it was made out of plastic.
Horrible.
So the team's clever work around this dilemma was to make a movie with the entire cast of characters actually made out of plastic.
That makes so much sense.
Ants. You know, people don't know what ants are supposed to look like. It's fine. Pixar continued to develop new processes to get the computer to generate unique textures and lighting, like simulating human hair or fur,
Oh my
or lighting
gosh.
things in such a way to make everything appear underwater. No other
Oh my
studio was
gosh.
pioneering computer-generated images like Pixar was. And then in 2006,
Yeah, DreamWorks, I'm sorry, but you guys were lacking compared to Pixar. I grew up with these two movies coming out. I remember when these two movies came out. Now, this clearly, like the story and the casting and everything, I think Shark Tale is awesome. I love Shark Tale. In fact, I literally made this image. So anyways, I like Shark Tale, okay? It's definitely intended to give different feelings than Pixar was. And I remember Pixar took years to I remember watching bonus features on the Finding Nemo DVD and them talking about how it took them years to get this, like, the water. This was the first time there was animation of, like, characters underwater that looked this compelling and, like, real. And it was crazy, and it took them years to do.
no other studio was pioneering computer-generated images like Pixar was. And then in 2006, Disney bought Pixar. But I don't think Steve was too upset because 1 year later, he achieved his dream of selling a high-end computer. This time being a little more affordable. A little. Now, I want to squash any misconception that computers do all the animating. Animators still have to manually pose a character's
Yeah, you
body
still have
and
to do the
facial
thing.
expression off of a character's build a complex system of nodes and bones that let them manually pose a character into any position possible. It's
the
kind of like a
positions.
digital stop-motion puppet, or an actual puppet without any of the strings. All CG characters are just their own complicated version of Pinocchio. Using character rigs is really the only way of animating things in 3 dimensions. But it's not like we can use rigs in 2D animation.
Yes, you can.
Here in the second dimension, we
Right.
don't have a fancy Z-axis. 2D animation can only be done.
Wait, because I remember hearing, okay, I'll explain this in a little bit. I'm pretty sure I was speaking to a 2D animator last year and they were talking about making a rig for a character. So is James about to throw a curveball at us, or are there differing opinions on what constitutes a rig or not? I think he'll probably answer this in the next like 5 seconds if I just unpause it and I'll be like, why did I even pause? Okay, sorry.
But it's not like we can use rigs in 2D animation. 2D animation can only be done by hand drawing 24 new images every second. Except we don't, I lied.
I think he'll probably answer this in the next like 5 seconds if I just unpause it and I'll be like, why did I even pause? Okay, sorry.
Even all the way
Okay,
back
good.
when
Woo.
characters
All right.
were animated with paper and cells, animators wouldn't draw a whole new frame every frame.
No.
Usually they would animate pieces of a character and paint each
Like
piece
South
on
Park.
its own cell. You remember Robin? They only drew one body and 5 different heads. But because
True.
cells are a physical object that get harder to handle the more you have, animators could only break a character up into 2 or 3 different pieces.
Yeah, that'd be
but
stressful.
now, thanks to the computer, we can break up a character into as many pieces as we'd like 4 or 5. Or 173! Have you ever played around with the free and revolutionary animation software Pivot Stick Figure Animator?
Yes!
If you're the type of person that says, "Oh, I suck at drawing. I can't even draw stick figures," then you're gonna love this program. On Pivot, you're given
Wow.
a pre-made stick figure or horse that have these joints that can be posed
I've used
however you
this
want.
as a
Each of
child.
these stick figures' limbs are just individual pieces that are connected in such a way that make it look like a stick figure. So to make these animations, we're not really drawing anything, we're just manually posing out a character like a digital puppeteer. I wasn't saying you can make a rig out of 173 pieces just to be funny, because that's how many pieces I'm made out of. That's right, me. Even I'm a rig.
way.
And can I tell you a secret? Most TV shows use rigs too.
Yeah.
Of course, hand-drawn traditional animation is still used to make these shows. It's not a lost art form or anything.
Right.
But rigs are super useful at making still pretty high quality levels of animation.
And with TV shows, with modern TV shows, if you're doing Bluey, for example, you want the characters to look the exact same in every episode. You don't want it to look like, oh, this person drew the characters for this episode, oh, and I can tell a different person drew the characters for another episode. You want it to look the same throughout. So you need to have rigs. You need to have pre-done characters. And then you delve away from that if you're doing something a bit more surreal or something, or even just something for the first time, then you have to create new images for that rig, you know?
Rigs are super useful at making still pretty high quality levels of animation, but at a much cheaper cost. And as we all know, TV animation has to create more animation per budget. But
True.
maybe rig animation still isn't as cost effective as you'd like. And maybe you're not a fan of the complicated puppet look and you want something that looks more human. Well, there's one more
Sometimes.
animation process we can
Sometimes.
try called motion.
Motion capture!
An actor inside one of these dorky ping pong suits, a computer can pinpoint and record that actor's exact movements. Now we can take those movements, slap a cartoon character's model over
Yep.
it, and we get an animation that looks like
What?
capture is the rotoscoping of 3D
Okay.
animation. It cuts costs, but the results are too human, and we're back at the bottom of the Uncanny Valley. That's why the kids from the Polar Express look so nightmarish, because they are following the exact movements of Tom Hanks.
No way.
Yes, Tom Hanks, the adult man, did some motion capture for the small, nameless hero boy from the Polar Express.
Wait,
There's probably a
what?
reason.
What? Are you kidding me? Of Tom Hanks? Why did you could have gotten Jimmy from behind the dumpster to do that? Why did you need Tom Hanks to do this? I bet there were so many struggling actors who were like, they didn't need to get Tom Hanks. Why'd they get Tom Hanks? I bet that cost so much more money. I would have loved to do that. Tom Hanks. Did you really? Okay, you really needed to use Tom Hanks. Fine. Go off, Polar Express creators. Do your thing, I suppose.
There's probably a reason we haven't made a fully motion capture cartoon in over 10 years.
Video
Because it
games we
looks
do,
weird.
though.
But I mean, that didn't stop one of these movies from winning an Oscar.
Which one?
In animation.
Which one?
And before you ask, no, it wasn't Monster House or Tintin. It was Mars Needs Moms. Duh.
Oh, of course.
Just like rotoscoping, motion capture can be used correctly. Computer-generated characters acting side by side real human actors look decent. It's not that jarring that these creatures who exist in a live-action world are moving just like live-action people.
Right,
and let's not
right.
forget all the VTubers who use motion capture technology to bring their jiggly assets to life. No matter what method someone uses to try and convince you that something else is alive, I think is incredibly cool. And I hope you think it's cool too. But
Oh, I
maybe
do.
you don't think it's cool, and
No,
you
I
don't
do.
care about animation.
I do.
And you just put this video on in the background while you were cleaning.
Well, that's valid
That's
too.
totally fine. I do that all the time. I just like learning
Yeah.
about how all of my favorite animated pieces of media get created, because it's not always the same process. And I think it's great that new technology is allowing anyone to express themselves in whatever way possible.
Yes!
Person,
Oh, James. This is one of many reasons why you are the GOAT. I believe I've said this before. I love all of these storytime animators. I truly think James being viewed as the greatest of all time that is canon to me. That should be the reality that we live in. James, TheOdd1sOut, is the best storytime animator of all time. He's got an incredible mind, and he's got a brilliant mind for animation, a passion. I haven't seen anyone else do a video like this. He's got an incredible passion, and I do love the way he looks at the world. Just this right now, it's like, yes, it's great that people are able to explore this art form in a way that they haven't been able to before. Some people complain about things becoming too accessible. It's like, oh, then not only the skilled people can do animation, animation. Now any kid can do some animation. That's good. That's good. Lower barriers to entry, more arts, more people expressing themselves. That is good. And so yeah, James, I appreciate you, man. You truly are the GOAT.
And I think it's great that new technology is allowing anyone to express themselves in whatever way possible. A person expressing themselves. Those are the 3 key words here. From the big studios that are just now pioneering new and interesting styles with digital animation, to the indie studios that have access to incredible technology, which allow anyone working from their bedrooms in their pajamas to create some truly masterpieces of animation.
Wow.
So, if you're the type of person that likes to trick people into thinking that something is alive, then you deserve all the respect in the world.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who want not alive muffins to look real and alive, and I kind of hate it. I get sent pictures sometimes of like taxidermied muffins, and they're like, look at this cute muffin. It's like, dude, you know what you're showing me right now, right? Like that muffin isn't alive. Can we not? Can we stop doing that? Anyways, yeah, Smiling Friends, made by a former YouTuber, amazing. Digital Circus, amazing, obviously. Should I look at these? Are these online cartoons? What are they? Should I look at these? Let me know in the comments, okay? Because I don't know what they are. I loved this video. I love all of the TheOdd1sOut's videos, and I learned so much from this. And this is exactly, if you had to boil down like what is the perfect video that's gonna, like Robert's gonna be super interested in, this is right up there. This is one of my favorite videos I have ever watched on this channel. I loved it. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I got a little bit like preachy and stuff, but like I am very passionate about this as well. I'm super, super passionate about the history of our art and our media, because I've been around for like evolutions in this kind of thing, and I'm super passionate about it. I love it. I love James. I think him and I are very, very alike, and this video ruled. So if you're not subscribed to TheOdd1sOut, you're out of your mind. Do it. I'm booping like right now. But after you've done that, here is the full playlist of times we looked at TheOdd1sOut. If you want more crazy adventures like this one, this playlist is awesome, and I will see you in these videos, okay? Here's another video of mine that YouTube thinks you will like in particular. Literally you. YouTube selected this video for you. So I'll see you here or I'll see you there. Peace out, my friends. Love you. Bye.